It's so good to see some familiar faces. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen some of you. For those of you who don't know me, I am Rebecca. I'm with PMD Alliance. And today I have the amazing Abbie Stone with us, who's going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and meditation. And I don't know if any of you have seen, we actually had Abbie on with Dr. Sarah Kemp-Mell. I mean, if I said it was like a month ago, it was probably like 6, but everything, I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Everything tends to mold together a little bit. But just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. So if you do have a question today, we are going to be taking questions. You can either do that in the chat. For those of you who are familiar with our chat, if you want to maybe even type in where you're tuning in from. I love when I see people from all over the country and sometimes from other countries. So feel free to put that in the chat. But we will also take some questions if you want to ask your questions on video or if you're on a phone. So if you are on video, just give us a little wave and Rachel or I will keep an eye out. Hi, Rachel. And we will unmute you. And for those of you who want to see, if maybe you're only seeing my face, but you want to see sort of Brady Bunch style, I see Brenda B has actually a Brady Bunch picture on, which I think is amazing. So Brenda,
good on you.
Awesome. And so if you want to be able to see that, up in the top right-hand corner, there's a little button if you're on your computer that says view, and if you click on that, you can click into gallery view, and that gives you the option to see everyone. And if you're on usually on mobile devices, sometimes on iPads, if you swipe left or right, you can actually see more than one person at a time. So definitely, if you want to see some other faces, we love seeing you guys, and hopefully this is a great chance to connect. Without further ado, Abbie, so why don't you tell, so Abbie and I, we've talked a little bit before we start our programs, and we've been talking a little bit about meditation, and I don't know about the rest of you, maybe even just like a raise of hands, like how many of you guys meditate or have tried meditating or anything like that? Okay, I see Megan. Oh, looks like Susan and Kathy. So I know that I just sort of started it. I don't know about the rest of you, and I keep saying that, but I totally feel like it is 2021. We are still at home, but we have some hope because we do have a vaccine out there. And but I was telling Abbie that some days just need to take a breath. And I need to schedule that time, because if I don't, I forget. And so I'm really glad to have Abbie here, because she is just so wonderful and has so much great insight. And you're going to see in a minute, but Abbie just has this great presence about her. And I hope that you feel it as well, even virtually, as we talk a little bit today. So Abbie, totally, if you want to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey.
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. And first, I just welcome you all. And it's such an honor to be asked to be here with you today and share our presence with one another. So I have a long history of working with older adults. I'm trained as a health educator, but my emphasis has always been gerontology, and worked in long-term care for many years, and was able to start a support group in the last community that I worked in, and that's how I got my connection with the Parkinson's Movement Disorder Alliance. So, and in my capacity there, I helped lead the retreats for families and folks living with Parkinson's. So, and that has been a sheer honor been disrupted because of the current virus, but we look forward to coming back where we can meet face to face and together again. So probably about 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to participate in a mindfulness-based stress reduction program here in Tucson, connected with the University of Arizona. And that program was developed by an individual named John Kabat-Zinn through MIT in Massachusetts, and he actually started a clinic. So they offer an 8-week session, and there are some resources that are available on our website that would direct you to that. They've converted to online that 8-week course. So you can, if you're interested after this, you can look at that as well as some other resources related to meditation and mindfulness. So there are many, many, many forms of meditation, mindfulness just being one of them. And I almost feel like mindfulness has come into a time of its own. There are probably tire commercials that use the word, buy a mindful tire. So it's been adapted in so many ways, but really the definition is being awake, and paying attention so that we know who we are and we know what we're doing, and we do that with awareness. John Kabat-Zinn actually says that it's a radical act of sanity and love, and believes that meditation doesn't stop when I noticed that someone had their cushions out, when you're off the cushion or when the bell stops ringing. But meditation is the way we live our lives. And it allows us really to have a shift by having an increased awareness or paying attention, so that circumstances in life, we come to them with a different reaction. So perhaps they're not so upsetting and don't cause us so much suffering. So, and certainly not to imply that we're all suffering. We are separated from one another and missing the connections that I think are so important to all of us as human beings. Through the past 10 months, there have been days that I absolutely go, I just want this to be over. And, I want normalcy. I think that would be something common for all of us, to want things to return back with ease to the way it was normal. I think we're not going to have that same normal, but we have the ability to have ease in our days. And I think by creating a formal practice where we sit every day, I love that Rebecca has scheduled times to do that, because if I don't, it's out the window, and once you start a habit, it usually takes like 2 weeks to either break a bad habit or start a new habit. It's just the way that we work as human beings. It's our behaviors that you really need to establish that practice. And if it is setting a time to do that, that helps to ground your practice. One of the things that I've started doing more recently, I do have a formal practice and I sit every day, but I've also started when I wake up in the morning, before I get out of bed, before I awake, I actually take a few minutes just to lay still with my eyes closed and kind of connect with my breath and just be very aware of my breath. Sometimes I actually go back to sleep. I fall back asleep. So it's a very peaceful time. So I wanted to actually give you the definition of mindfulness meditation from the Mindfulness-Based Stress Management Program. And that is paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. And as I said, this can lead to a really different relationship with the circumstances in your life, because instead of trying to make them go away or having them be a different way, or not liking the way they are, or really liking the way they are and hoping that they'll never change, you just get to be with them. You let them be. So a great practice, I think, as opposed to letting go, I don't know, when someone tells me to, oh, just let that go, I kind of get a little angry. It's like, well, have you ever tried to let something go? It's not easy. But if I can let it be, because I can't really let it go, my mind is going to go there. It's like a magnet to whatever I want to let go. It's where I'm going to stay. But if I can let it be, I have some ease. And if I can do that with grace, wow, that's a bonus. So I also just wanted to, talk about that letting go a little bit. So the letting be is just really being with what shows up. So I think that's so powerful, particularly for folks living with Parkinson's, as a means when your tremors are getting bad, or when you're just in a place of woe's me, which, we all go to, regardless of whether we're living with a condition or not. But it's a way to really sit with that and be, and accept it. And, then I guarantee you another thought is going to come that's different. It's the function of our minds. They think. We have thoughts all the time, kind of like weather patterns. They're constantly changing. They move. And if that little voice that we have in our head, and if you're wondering which voice it is, it's the one that just said, what voice is she talking about? It's that one. It is constantly, it chatters all the time. It's very, very busy. So meditation actually provides an opportunity. In mindfulness meditation, we anchor with our breath. We use our breath, and we'll be doing a simple meditation, a breath meditation today. And we use breath because it's something we're already doing. We don't have to learn how to do it. Our bodies are pretty amazing. We're unbelievable human beings that we're already doing this. And believe me, if we were in charge of our breathing, what would happen is we'd get a text and it would be like, boom, oh, I just forgot to breathe. Uh-oh, dead. I mean, that's how it would be. So we really connect to something that is already happening that can anchor us. So we use our breath. Sometimes it's a phrase, a repetitive phrase, but for our purposes today, we'll use our breath. And what we'll look at doing is actually feeling our breath. So not I'm listening to my breath, but actually to feel it, to experience it, because I think we hurry and rush and multitask so much that, like I said, if we were in charge of our breathing, we wouldn't be here, honestly. If you stop to think about that for a minute, when was the last time you said, remember to breathe? Yeah, so, all right. So I'm going, how are we doing? Are there questions? Am I speaking too fast? You guys are good? Great. Okay, good. Thank you.
We're good, yeah.
All right. So the classic breath meditation is designed to actually deepen our sense of concentration. So if you consider for a moment how preoccupied and deep in thoughts we are, ordinarily we are. I mean, I have my grocery list. I have the things I want to accomplish today. I have, did I check in with this person? How am I going to get my groceries delivered? And I can't go out for a walk because they're going to come. So all those things that are filling our mind all the time, the breathing exercise is really an opportunity to pause, take a breath, experience our breath, and just have ease and recognize that there's peace to be found in that. There's quiet and there's ease to that. So we can see in what I've just said, you can see how harnessing our thoughts and reeling them in a little bit can be very useful and complement our well-being and be a huge component in allowing us some ease. Let's see. I think the beauty of the breath too is that you don't have to learn anything. It's always available to us. We can do it anywhere. It's portable. I cannot tell you how many times I've been stuck in an airport and have walked 5 miles already in the airport waiting for my plane that keeps getting delayed, where I can just sit down and breathe and relax and have moments of meditation. So it's available anywhere, and it's accessible. So what I'm going to do is I invite you. You don't have to do this if you're not comfortable. We'll do about a 6-minute meditation, a guided meditation, and you don't have to do anything odd or it isn't mandatory. As I said, I invite you to do this, but you can sit with your eyes opened or closed. It is recommended you can lie down if you wish, if you're more comfortable to lie down. Honest to God, when I do meditations and I'm lying down, most of the time I fall asleep. But it's like, okay, that's part of my practice. If you're slouching, it would be nice to be in a position that's relaxed, but not stiff, so that you're comfortable. So sometimes we ring a bell. I'm not going to do that, but I invite you to close your eyes and we'll begin if you wish. So to begin with, you can sit or lie down comfortably, relaxed yet alert. You don't have to feel self-conscious, as though you're about to do something weird or special. Just be at ease. If it helps your back, you can be straight or sit in a chair, but don't be strained or overarched. You can close your eyes or not, however you feel comfortable. You can start to notice where the feeling of the breath is most prominent for you. It may be at the nostrils, or at the chest, or in your stomach. You want to bring your attention there and let it just rest there in that area. Feel the breath. See if you can feel just one breath from the beginning through the middle and to the end. If you're with the breath in the nostrils, you may feel tingling, vibration, warmth, or coolness. If you're at the chest or the stomach, you may feel movement, pressure, stretching, expansion, and release. You don't have to name these sensations, just feel them. It's just one breath from beginning to middle to end. If images, sounds, emotions, or sensations arise, and they aren't strong enough to actually take you away from the feeling of your breath, just let them flow by. They're like waves. You don't have to follow after them. You don't have to resist them. You're breathing. Just return to the feeling of your breath. It's like seeing a friend in a crowd. You don't have to shove everyone else out of the way or make them go away. It's your enthusiasm, it's your attention, and it's your interest that's going towards your friend. Well, there's my friend. There's the breath. If something arises, a sensation or emotions or thoughts or whatever it might be that's strong enough to take your attention away from the breath, or if you fall asleep, or you get lost in some incredible fantasy, see if you can let go and begin again, bringing your attention back to the breath. If you have to let go and begin again 1,000 times, it's fine. That's the practice. That's the magic moment in recognizing and then gently coming back to the breath. It's just one breath. You may notice that the rhythm of your breath changes during the course of this meditation, during the time that we're sitting. You can allow it to be however it is. That's fine. If you see your attention jumping to the past, jumping to the future, having judgment, speculation, that too is fine. It's part of the practice. Our practice is to gently let go and simply return to the breath. Gently. No judgment. You're breathing. You can bring your attention back to the feeling of the breath, remembering that in letting go of whatever carried you away, the important word is gentle. We can gently let go. We can forgive ourselves for having wandered. And with great kindness to ourselves, we return to the breath and we begin again. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Great. So sometimes when we sit and do an exercise like this, a breathing exercise, a meditation, we feel energized or enthusiastic or tired. So, it's just part of the practice. And again, I think the biggest thing that I have learned in the 5 years of sitting is gentle. I think we have the tendency to be so hard on ourselves and so judgmental of ourselves that taking the time, when I first started sitting, it would be like, that was a terrible meditation. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't I didn't have any great like epiphanies. No one came to speak to me. There were times when I first started meditating, I was caregiver for my mom, and there were times I was overcome with such sadness that my meditation, and I was meditating sometimes for, you know, 40 minutes at a sit. And, um, I would cry and think, this is not what this is supposed to be. I should be joyful and happy. And, you know, we're so hard on ourselves. That judgment, I think, first and foremost, goes to us. And until we can learn to ease some of that and let some of that be for ourselves, let ourselves be however it is that we're arriving at the moment, then we learn to do that with others. So our relationships with others shift and have more ease and more loving kindness to them. So yeah, as I said, we will have resources for this. These guided meditations are online. This is from Sharon Salzberg, who is a great meditation teacher. She's written several books, and she has a 10-day or 28-day meditation challenge that we'll put on the website so that you can access it. It's free. And she's, what I love about her is she has a sense of humor. So it allows us to kind of laugh at ourselves, which is always a great practice, I think. And I'm going to actually just give you a quote from Jon Kabat-Zinn that I thought was so powerful for me that I want to share this with you. Practice sharing the fullness of your being, your best self, your enthusiasm, your vitality, your spirit, your trust, your openness, above all, your presence. Share it with yourself, with your family, and with the world. So thank you. It is a great honor to sit with you and practice. So thank you so much for a treat.
Well, thank you, Abbie. Anybody else feel like really relaxed after that? Like I think Judy said her dog fell asleep. And so I know Rachel put into the chat the link for Sharon Salzberg's website. And I think, Abbie, you mentioned that there's also an app that goes through that as well.
Yes, so there's a wonderful app if you have an Android or iPhone called Insight Timer. It is free. It has a litany of guided meditations on it, as well as a timer. I just use the timer, but you can set the bells to different sounds. Usually a meditation begins and ends with a bell. So I use that all the time. It is a great app. Love the free stuff. Calm is another free app. Headspace, there's a free trial. I would go with the free things. Also, UCLA has an app. And there are several again, my orientation was through the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Center, but they're all over. And if you're in North Carolina, there's a meditation center. If you're in New Mexico, there's meditation centers. So they're everywhere. And my suggestion would be, try a few. If there's one that doesn't do it for you, there's another that will. And it really is just being comfortable and finding that practice that works for you, and then practicing.
I'd like to share too. So I mentioned that I'm very new to meditation. It is very hard for me. I don't know. Some of you look like pros, like Laura, you're there all comfortable, ready to go. I mean, you guys some of you, I'm sure, do this constantly. I know for me, that is not something normal for me to do, like to take that time to take that breath. And I will say, one of my coworkers, Shannon, who some of you may know, actually recommended that to me recently, and I really do like it. I have used Calm, or tried using Calm, and Kathy says she really loves Calm, so I highly recommend. The one thing Judy, you'll like this about Insight Timer. They actually so there are some things that are paid, there are some things that are free, but they actually have like a 7-day course on how to meditate, and some of that judgment that Abbie was talking about that I give to myself, my mind continues to go, and I feel like I'm terrible at it. And they walk you through all of those things, because I'm guessing, Abbie, what are some things for somebody who might be new to meditation that, what are some things that are normal to feel? What are some things that are normal? You know what I mean? Especially for those of us like me, I'm especially speaking for me, like that, when you think you're bad at meditating.
So I think I love that John Kabat-Zinn says it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So, but not to discourage you from doing it, because it will give you freedom and ease and comfort. So, my mind does not stop. There's a term called monkey mind. And that, that's the mind that it's like, oh, would you just said that? Oh, no, you said this. Oh, no. So sometimes I'm sitting, actually, so I'll be very telling of today. When I sat in the morning, one of the things that I've started doing since COVID is the spelling bee in the New York Times. And I highly recommend it. It is really fun. So today, and it was a really hard one today. Today, while I was meditating, I found 3 new words. So I had to stick to my cushion because I was so excited that I found 3 words in my meditation that I just wanted to end my time, get up and enter the words. So I tell you, that was my meditation today, and the ability to let that be. And honestly, as soon as my bell rang, I got up and did the words. And I thought, this is so ridiculous. Today I'm going to give a talk and lead a meditation, and mine is about the spelling bee today. So I think I remember when my kids were in kindergarten, and this was the saying that they'd say, you take what you get and you don't pitch a fit. And I may have, I can't remember, but that's the idea of it. So when I sit, it's like, I go in with no expectation. I try to go in with no expectations. And, some days I find 3 words for the spelling bee, and other days I can connect to my breath the entire time, with gently coming back at least 1,000 times. So when I was early on in my meditation, I used to think, I went away. I just went away. I was lucky if I could stay awake, honest. And when you're sitting for 40 minutes, because that was my commitment in the beginning, and you're falling asleep, it's like, whoa, am I gonna like kiss the floor? It's like gonna go over, which luckily, I've caught myself in the sway. But there came a time where it shifted for me, where it was like, okay, this is really good, because I recognized that I went away. I was aware enough to know I left. And then I came back and began again. So Sharon Salzberg, what she says is that coming back and beginning again is the magic moment. And that's a choice that you make. You had the awareness and you came back. So, just keep coming back. I love, there's another meditation teacher who's on Insight Timer. His name is Jack Kornfield. And in his guided meditation, he said, it's kind of like having that gentle way of being, like when you're training a puppy and you're teaching the puppy to stay, which is what we're teaching our minds to do, is to stay, to not wander. And he says, you don't beat the puppy. You say, stay, stay, stay. So that same gentleness that we would be the way we would be with a child, is that gentleness we deserve and owe to ourselves. It's our right as a human being. So,
Well, thank you for that, Abbie. We have several people who are commenting. Rachel suggested, sometimes using earplugs helps because you can listen to yourself breathing. I think that's a really,
mhm.
I didn't even think about that, Rachel. I think that's awesome. And then someone asks, Ellen asks, she has trouble falling asleep. Are there good ways to use meditation to help sleep? Is there anything to avoid?
So Andrew Weil, who is at the University of Arizona, he was actually like the father of integrative medicine, has I believe it's 4-7-4 system of breathing. But if you Google Andrew Weil's sleep meditation, you'll be able to learn how to do that. It's very easy to do. Honestly, when I can't sleep, I connect to my breath and lying down in bed and feel my breath. And somewhere in there, I'm asleep. So I would say to try that, try laying down and just connecting to your breath, feeling your breath.
Awesome. And Rachel just put the link into, I'm going to say his name wrong, Dr. Well, into the chat. So if you
Great.
are able to see that, you should be able to click that link. We will also try to include that when we reach out to you all after this program. And this will be up on our YouTube channel. So we'll try to include some of those links as well.
And Shannon just also noted, Shannon, thank you, Shannon. It's good to see you. That Insight Timer has a sleep meditation. So not one that I've used, but thank you, Shannon, so much.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. As I said, Shannon was the one who introduced me to Insight Timer, and after my experience with it, I highly recommend anything that she has to suggest from that app for sure. Denise says that she has tinnitus and total quiet sometimes is sometimes disconcerting. So she needs low meditative music / sound in the background as well. So I think do you have, Denise, do you mind if we unmute you? And do you have any suggestions for any music that you use that you find specifically helpful? I'm gonna click for you to unmute right now.
I just go to my Google Home and do spa music, meditative music. And I was just looking at this Insight, and they have some wonderful background.
They do.
The deep Om, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Denise. And it looks like, I think Laura, we're going to unmute you. I think you have a book that you would like to share. There you are.
Yeah, it's Breath by James Nestor, and it's great.
Awesome. Well, maybe we can maybe find a link for that, and we can get that in for, you said James Nestor, Breath. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yes.
Great. We will get a link for that, and we'll make sure that for others who are interested.
I'm delighted that people have a practice. It's really neat to hear you all share. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel, for grabbing that link. You're so fast. Awesome. Now, one thing that I did want to ask about, because I had mentioned this when we started, and I know you talked a little bit about this. You had said, we talk about mindfulness and meditation. And so when you and I chatted, so to me, I feel like you said it's a type of meditation, but I know that we talk a lot about mindfulness, at least we have on our holistic program. And can you give a little bit of a definition specifically about mindfulness? Like how is that different from meditation, or how do they work together? Abbie.
So I think I want to say that mindfulness is the opposite of mindlessness, like being totally unconscious and not aware of anything that we're doing or how what we do would impact others, or the ease that's available to us of being aware and paying attention. So I think it's just being awake, having awareness of a situation. I think that we get so caught up, and actually the pandemic has been a gift in some way for us to slow down a little bit and just everything's paused. So I think it is just any form of meditation. To me, for years I used to think that it was turning off the mind, like making it go away. But it's acknowledging it. It's not going to go. It's part of it's our brain. It's part of our being. But to harness our thoughts instead of having them run us, to have a sense of power over that, and be who we are, dignified and intelligent and loving and kind. I think a very powerful one of the things when the pandemic first began, John Kabat-Zinn started doing mitigation retreats every single day for an hour. He would have a meditation, and there were times I'd go on, there'd be 4,000 people on from all over the world. So that, this is at noon here in Tucson, Arizona, which meant it was at 3 a.m. and I pick a place. I can't do that time change that quickly. And people from all over would gather to pause and let be what was happening. And pandemics aren't new. This is a century, once in a century pandemic. In 1918, we had a pandemic. This is, our century pandemic. But the way that, again, the way we approach this, the way that we relate to it, will either create a lot of stress in our lives or provide ease. And we can do this with ease and grace. I think one thing that was very powerful in that is when we interact with children, and we've all had children, they do something and you have a thought like, oh, there they are doing that again. Or why did you do that? Like that was, what were you thinking? So if we can step back for a moment and shift our response so that we come from a place of love, and it's like, oh, wow, I noticed that you happened to do that again. That's really, really different. And I think with our partners, our spouses, our family, and above all else, ourselves, because I'm the first one to have a conversation with who's like, that was really stupid. Why'd you say that? Instead of, oh, that's interesting. I noticed that that's where you went, instead of being so judgmental. But we're always going to have an opinion. We're opinionated, we're human beings, but to ease back on the judgment of our opinions. So I hope that answered that.
And I think something you said to me when we were talking the other day, you said, we are all human, we all have an opinion, but it's neither good nor bad. Like it just is. And I thought that was really powerful, a really powerful statement, that it's okay. And that's, it's to just be, as you've been talking about today. a couple of comments. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but a couple of people said that the meditation today was wonderful, and that for someone it helped with their dyskinesia, and one of them helped with the tremor. And yes, Denise, I totally agree. Abbie, this is really great advice for all people, even care partners. And I think, Judy, you had said earlier that, it's hard to turn off your mind, especially if you're living with Parkinson's. And I imagine that's true for all of us that are touched by the disease. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. I think it's a great practice to do with your care partner, to both sit, take that time to sit. There's a gentleman here. I'll try to find his name and make sure that you guys get that. He's a professor at the university who has done studies with meditation and dyskinesia. So I will make sure I get his name, and it would be lovely to invite him to come on. That would be really, really great. I just think it's powerful and not a catch-all, not in a hokey kind of way, like, oh, this will fix you. But it's just a really, it is a gift to give yourself. It is, it's having your sanity and a great radical act of love.
I totally agree, Abbie. And I think sometimes, I don't know if the rest of you agree with me, but sometimes we are a little bit more hard on ourselves than we might be to a friend or a loved one. Or even vice versa. If someone, if we talk to ourselves, like if our friend talked to us the way that we talk to ourselves, sometimes we would probably not be friends with ourselves. So I think it's important, like you're saying, you're talking a lot about a lot of this is about having love for ourselves. And that's what I definitely hear coming from your message today.
Yes, yeah. So there's a wonderful meditation called the loving kindness meditation. And that is one where you're actually repeating phrases. But the phrases they're just so beautiful. It's, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy, and may your days be filled with ease. So, I mean, that's like delicious. So, yes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Abbie. And I don't know if you even had this planned or not, but I was wondering, we have a little bit of time for maybe another short meditation? Do you feel comfortable guiding us in
I don't have anything up, but we could do quiet for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that would be great. How does that sound to everybody? Just take a couple minutes to breathe and to be in the moment.
So I'm actually just gonna go into my insight timer, and 2 minutes. How's that sound, folks? Yeah?
That sounds good. Yeah, we have a lot of nodding heads, thumbs up.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Abbie. And
Thank you. Thank you.
silence is a thing I feel like we don't always have a lot of, where I don't know, I'm always moving and I'm always thinking, and I just having those 2 minutes to just sit and breathe and connect. I see a lot of nodding heads. That's not shaking hands. So hopefully that was as relaxing for the rest of you. And Abbie, we had a question. Can you repeat what the mantra was? I think everybody wanted
Absolutely.
to write that down.
Yes, yes. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your days be filled with ease. That's such a lovely way to close. It's such a lovely little way to begin and end. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I know, it's a little before the hour, but I think that is a great way to end and a great way to move on into the weekend. And Abbie, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you to all of you for joining us. We had a great turnout, and I hope that you all felt the peace of, like I said at the beginning, Abbie is you just have this great presence, and I feel it online. I hope the rest of you felt that as well. And have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next week. And we will end, as we always do, with our wave goodbye. So if you have your camera off, please turn it on. Thank you for connecting and for having connected with us for almost a year now online during this time. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.